Those in New York City, welcome to Office Hours Early Edition, especially for my mentor, Blaine Bartlett, the amazing Blaine Bartlett. He's moving possibilities into reality for some of the biggest executives in the world, and that's what we bring on here to Office Hours, and we're blessed to be here with another great executive to share his playbook to success, the co-founder and chief executive officer of Facet, Anders Jones, right out of Baltimore. Welcome to Office Hours.
Hey, great to be here.
Great to have you here. Now, you've worked with many startups as Blaine and I, and you're managing over $1.5 billion in management. What do you see? The changes are so quick today with startups, especially concerning technology. When you're managing that money, what are some of the biggest challenges that exist today that weren't around even last year?
In terms of managing money?
In short, as young entrepreneurs in early stage tech is concerned as you're managing that money, sorry.
Yeah, well, so for starters, it actually, you might have some old numbers. We're closer to 3 billion. But
you better get on your PR team. You better get on your PR team because they're half selling you. They're underselling you.
Yeah. So like we we just the 10-second commercial on Facet is we are a financial direct-to-consumer financial planning company, and we help people on a subscription basis. So we're big believers that the sort of old model of charging for financial advice by charging based on assets or charging a product or a commission on a product is really kind of not the way of the future. So the 3 billion that we manage for our clients is we actually do that for free. They pay us for the financial planning, and then we manage the money for free. But we started the company in 2016. For some context, we went into COVID with about 2 million in ARR. Right now we're at 40 million. So the last 4 years have been pretty crazy growth. And, you ask about challenges between, last year and this year. I mean, every year brings a whole new set of, sort of new things to deal with. I'd say the number one thing right now is I still don't think that we have figured out, and I'd say, companies sort of writ large have figured out the whole hybrid work from home, be in an office, like what's the right balance there. And if I had to pick like one thing that, I think that we continue to try and like do better on every quarter, it's that. It's how do you build culture when that, in-person time is super valuable. But at the same time, like we have 220 employees in 42 different states. So like, how do you do, so it's like, how do you sort of maintain that culture, but also, cater to folks that are in, spread around the country. So that's probably the number one thing that I'm focused on right now, outside of just like running the business and raising capital and all that great stuff.
Now, since you started Facet, one of the things that kind of stands out, it wasn't just a one and done when you set it up in terms of your business model and your whole go-to-market strategy. If I understand correctly here, you've actually had to start over more than once. With the idea, with the original idea, but kind of developing the capacity to continuously start over is one of the hallmarks, I think, of a successful entrepreneur. And what you've been able to do based on your numbers, it's not a 1.5 billion, it's now 3 billion. That's pretty interesting. What did you keep your focus on, Anders, that enabled you and your team to develop the capacity to continuously start over? Because that can be kind of disheartening.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think from the beginning, when we started the company, we saw an opportunity to lower the cost and increase the quality of financial advice, and in the process, open up to a whole market that was very underserved. And I'd say that North Star, and so it's like, this idea of like lowering costs, increasing access, and just changing how, like, disrupting the financial advice industry. That North Star hasn't changed. And I think one of the things that we actually test for when we hire people is, do you have some sort of personal connection to the mission beyond just the economic opportunity that you see? And, I would say every single person that we hire has some reason why they believe in what we're doing. They've either seen the goodness of what really good financial advice can do, or they've had experience with either them or a family member basically getting screwed by the existing industry. And so it's either a negative or a positive that drives them there. And so that North Star hasn't changed. How we go about getting there is that has changed a lot. And I think, as you both well know, right, the startup game is one of iteration. You never get it right the first time. And there's this great, I think it was Ben Horowitz in his book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things. He talks about, it's like, there's no such thing as a silver bullet. There's only 1,000 lead bullets. And, in my mind, it's that plus, your sort of success is based on how fast you can fire, aim, fire again, and iterate as quickly as possible. And I think that, when people join Facet, we tell them right up front, listen, like, our sort of strategy and goals today are not going to be the same in 3 months. And that's okay. That means that we're learning and we're getting better. And setting that expectation up front, I think, has really helped, because it means that, the whiplash is not unexpected. And I would also say, I also sort of talk about startups as like, it's sort of like a converging sine wave over time, where it's like you have this crazy variability and volatility in the beginning. And then as you get more and more mature, that volatility, it sort of condenses. It's still there, right? Like, you never, I think until you're a, multi, tens of billions of dollar company that makes 3 big decisions a year, the volatility is always there. But it's still, I think setting that expectation and sort of preconditioning people to that is that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
It really is. And one of the things that stands out as well, which I've been trying to help young entrepreneurs and graduates with this. And 2009 was a rough year for me. I lost over $100 million, went bankrupt. And when Stanford showed that almost 80% of their graduates didn't have jobs there in 2009, it was an indicative component of what was going on in the world. But you took a basic approach in order to break through, and it really paid off. You hung out in the lobby or the bar at the Rosewood Hotel, well known in Silicon Valley and Sand Hill Road, to get your first job. And I believe my sales reps, when they feel stuck or they don't see opportunity, go where opportunity lies, and go ahead and find out what people like and what they don't like, and offer them more of what they like or take away what they don't like, and you'll find an opportunity very quickly. That ended up in over $300 million exit for you. Today, does that strategy still work? Is there still a person-to-person statistical success that exists? I believe there is, but I'm 56 years old, and I like to give bad advice to young entrepreneurs that hanging out at nice hotel bars and lobbies is one of the best places to provide opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think so. I think that what you end up, how you end up doing it is probably, there's probably a few different avenues there. But I think the sort of kernel of that story is that it's like, people who expect that the traditional channels of, doing the recruiting process out of college and working with a career counselor and all that, like, yeah, I mean, it works for some people, but that's also how you end up in a very normal career path. And, I think that if you, if you want to do something that's really meaningful or change the world, you have to do something that's not normal. And so I think there's like a sort of a hustle or sort of thinking outside the box component there that, really I think like that's the more important thing. And then, whether it's hanging out in a hotel lobby or, whatever it might be, that's sort of how you establish that. But yeah, those were some dark days. I'll tell you. I mean, I was that statistic about Stanford. I graduated in 2009 from Stanford, and it was crickets out there. And it's also funny too how like what you sort of draw up in your head as your path never ends up being the case. I was convinced that I was going to end up on Wall Street working a job in finance, and I didn't know anything about tech at the time, and here I am. So I'd say the future never really maps exactly how you think it's going to.
Absolutely. I always say if you look backwards, as another Stanford graduate told me, and connect the dots backwards. Number one, most people wouldn't believe that that's how you got to where you are. And then two, I'm not sure if you knew what it would take to get to where you are, that you'd sign on or sign off for it. And that's illustrative of your career and what you're helping so many others do with over 8,000 households that you're facilitating a more efficient way to financial legacy. And I highly suggest those out there to check out Facet, looking for an abundant way for redefining financial planning. You can change the status quo. That's the takeaway I have from Anders. You can't solve a problem in the same consciousness in which it was created. And it seems as Anders did learn some standard in order to facilitate a greater good, a greater financial good, especially. Thanks, Anders. We have other shows. We'd love to have you on. Please come back and visit us. Thanks so much.
Nick, thanks for having me. Good to see you guys.
Thanks,
Great
Anders.
to see you. Congrats. Wow. There's so many nuggets between the lines with Anders. It's great to promote Facet, and they're doing a great job, obviously, extremely successful. But if you look at the journey of Anders, you can see someone that sees through the lines, thinks outside the box, and he's an expert, has a superpower, one that I have developed over the years, which is you'll never starve if you know how to raise money, and he certainly knows and is an expert at that as well. We're blessed to have some great friends always joining us, Blaine, but I'm blessed to have you as a great friend and joining me as well on Thursdays office hours. The soul of business was created here with Blaine Bartlett. Thank you so much. All right, our next guest is here, and James Ferrara. Now he's an advantage on the East Coast like me today. He's the president and co-founder of InteleTravel. Welcome to Office Hours, James.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. Now, you're looking at two travelers, so we're going to have hopefully deeper questions as we're talking, millions of miles and many thousands of trips. I have 200 planned dates this year already, and I don't know how many Blaine has had as well. The only break I think we both, Blaine, during COVID, we said the only real difference was it was the first time each of us in 25 years hadn't traveled every week as we sat at home, you on the island and me in San Diego and Orange County. But you guys have a global host travel agency, which obviously has changed over 30 years that you had founded it, and travel has changed immensely. I think it's so much easier and so much better than it's ever been. But I was wondering on the agency side, is it also bigger and better than it's ever been?
Well, it is. And let me say, by the way, we were founded in La Jolla, right outside San Diego. I moved there. And like your previous guest, if I look back, this has not been a straight line, right? But I'm blessed to be able to talk about travel. Maybe the one thing that everyone wants to talk about, right? So didn't pick that industry with any purpose. I came out of investment banking, and my partner and I kind of fell into it. And then once they get you in, you never can get out again.
It's funny because I always say people love to talk about their children. They love to talk about sports and entertainment, which are tied together, and then travel. So those are the three. If you can't find a common bond between those three things to align with someone, you're in big trouble. But I love your passion and the stickiness of travel. Blaine and I do enough of it as well. Blaine, I can see you're prioritizing the questions. I can see it in your face, the light.
Check.
So you asked about the current time, and it is a boom time in travel. And what's interesting about our story, and this has a lot to do with our model and also with my incredible management team, but we've had best year ever for a long run of years now. Every year has been the next best year ever. The only off year for us was 2020 in memory during the pandemic. But even that year, we had a profitable year in travel. I distributed profit share to every one of my employees that year. And we bounced back in January of 21 and then listened to the industry talk about recovery for another 2+ years. We had already recovered. So there is a way, there are pivot strategies and there are management strategies. And also there is underlying strength of concept that can take you through even a historic disruption like that.
Oh, Blaine, can you hear us?
Oh, there. Okay. Everything dropped for a minute there. Are we back?
Yep.
You're back.
Okay.
Yeah, we were here. You're back.
Okay. We are here. I wasn't. I've got, David mentioned this, we got a lot of travel between us. I'm bumping close to 6 million air miles right now.
Wow.
Yeah. I do not recommend this for anybody.
No.
I really don't.
Yeah, Blaine's 30 years old. I don't recommend it either.
You should gift them, Blaine. Gift them to us.
Oh, hey, they're gone. I mean, I haven't banked them.
Oh, okay.
They have been used. Yeah. But the idea of travel is one thing, but one of the things that I'm interested in is the way that the company's positioned, that InteleTravel is positioned. It's not necessarily positioned as a travel agency as much as it's positioned as a host agency.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that differentiation? Because I got a hunch it's kind of key to why you were able to do what you did in 2020.
It is. 33 years ago, my partner and I acquired a small homegrown agency in La Jolla that was doing something just post deregulation in the travel industry that no one had ever done. They had designed what was then called a hub agency, and they had a small central operation, and they had outside agents like stringers, like referral agents, all over California, only in California, and they had hundreds of them. Fast forward 33 years later, we're approaching 110,000 independent travel agents worldwide, and they use our platform, our training, all of our support to sell travel to friends, family, customers, corporations, whatever. And we use a centralized operation now in several countries, but centralized operations to support them. So this is really, in a sense, it's somewhere at the nexus between technology and personal relationships, because it's still being sold person to person, the travel. You might sell only within, sort of like Avon, or you're selling maybe only within your family and friends. The ones who really succeed, they take our lead and our training, and they get beyond that and create a 6-figure income doing this part-time, from home, from an office, wherever. Could be an add-on to another business. We have a lot of financial services professionals who add travel as a service to maybe insurance or real estate or other things that they do. And We just pour money into the platform, the technology. We empower them in a way that even though they're, in a sense, on their own, maybe working from home, maybe working part-time, maybe it's a stay-at-home parent, but we empower them to the point where they look to their customers like they're operating a big business.
There you go.
So that's the key. If you look at 2020, I would like to claim all sorts of credit for our survival and success that year. I really would. But the truth is, it's the model, right? Because the last thing that breaks is relationships. So the market stresses, nobody's responding to ads, nobody's answering cold calls, nobody's walking into even the travel agency, but your brother-in-law has you at the dinner table and is talking to you about travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a community for over 30 years, and InteleTravel gives you not only a great platform, but information. And information, of course, allows for an extreme efficiency and statistical success with the most relative and associated people with you. Also, James has a podcast. Check it out. I love the title, No Tourists Allowed. Love, once again, if you want two experts in travel to come on, Blaine and I would love to share some travel secrets. And I think there's also an opportunity for people who do travel a lot themselves, or their company has an enormous amount, to have their own InteleTravel platform for their internal use as well. And I know people have utilized it in that mechanism to make money as well. What a great opportunity for entrepreneurs. Learn more about InteleTravel. It's I think www. Is it dot?
No, it's just www.inteletravel.com.
Yeah, I don't know where the two came from. Yeah, I was going to say, I've been in the web since '92, and I've never seen a domain before the W or after that. So let's fix that. It's www.inteletravel.com. James, thank you for your patience. I am very close to your original office. I have a home in South Mission Beach. I grew up in San Diego, so probably passed by your original office so many different times.
It's the La Jolla Executive Tower, this big glass tower up on the main.
Yeah, I used to live in La Jolla. Yeah.
We used to have the jet fighters from the base come and circle the tower. It was the coolest thing.
That is cool. That's where Top Gun was created, right there in Miramar as well. James, we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Coming into the close here in New York, I will be in Phoenix this evening with Marshall Falk for the Final Four. With Sharon Lecter as well, a special guest.
Tell Sharon hello for me.
Yeah. Well, I will. Speaking of one of the best performance coaches and financial coaches in the world, along with Blaine, we're blessed to have Dr. Cassidy Preston here. And he himself takes, it was weird. I was thinking about Miracle on Ice, Cassidy, this morning. And I'm going to be doing a miracle training, and I'm going to take the lessons of one of the greatest sporting moments in history for the world, as well as the United States. I think it was voted the #1 sporting moment in our century, which in America you would think would not be hockey, but it is. And you as an elite hockey player, have really formulated, like Herb Brooks, these unbelievable mental strategies for high achievers. And you've been able to allow people to understand how mindset comes first. And I think if you watch the movie Miracle on Ice and you see Herb Brooks, he was one of the greatest chess players of all time. His vision in the future was that of Lee Steinberg and other people that I've been around. And you also take that same strategy and approach. Your new book is Mindset First, and understanding how to break free from the attachment of outcomes and what we call the weight of results, and the importance of confidence and inspiration. But most importantly, I love when to perform when it matters most. And It's interesting. There's a few players out there like Gene Tennis, that was the MVP of the World Series, who hit 4 home runs, or Jim Leyritz for the Yankees. But for big moments, nobody would know still who those names are. It means a lot to perform in big moments. What do you think it is that creates those empty milers? Great, and then there's the elite performers that can do it in the biggest moments.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I think one cool way of looking at it is obviously there is a bit of like, okay, let's rise to the occasion and the energy, and they channel that, and they're really well prepared. So there's like coping planning, mental prep, so that they can embrace the energy and even raise their performance a little bit. But I like to also frame it, especially for most athletes and elite athletes, they're like, they make the big moments bigger than they really are in their head, which then for a lot of athletes, what happens? They start to underperform. So really the ones that are performing at their best and performing when it matters most, they're just showing up the way they always show up, and they just don't drop the performance. And it looks like they've raised their game, but they've actually just stayed steady, kept perspective, and channeled that energy. They plan to deal with the pressure or the context that's changing, the noise, and they're so grounded and centered in who they are and how they want to play that it looks like they're raising their game way better. And they're like, but it's actually a lot of people around them might be just falling. So that's one unique way of looking at it. Instead of like, oh, you got to have this special sauce to become something way better all of a sudden on a key moment. It's like, well, that puts actually more pressure and can actually cause people to underperform. So, we say it a lot with athletes going to playoffs or big moments. All right, like, let's not make it bigger than what it is. Yes, the context has changed. Yes, it is big, but don't make it bigger than what it is, because then that allows them to have the perspective to stay grounded and centered and attack the game and play the way that they know they can and trust their capability. So that'd be one unique, quick way of looking at it.
Yeah. And Dave, you're going to the game, with basketball coming up here, and the truth is, it's still just the game that's played on a court, got the same size ball. The hoop height hasn't changed. The size of the diameter of the hoop hasn't changed. None of that has changed. And there is a question coming up here, Cassidy. The idea of breaking free from the weight of results. In my experience, a lot of people get themselves wrapped around the axle when they begin identifying with the result. I am my result.
Yeah.
And that meshing of identity with an external outcome is an absolutely exquisite formula for disappointment and stress and all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do a lot of work with mindset as well in my leadership development programs and whatnot. How have you actually found a way to peel the clutching? Yeah, I am my results structure apart for these folks.
Great question. I really like, when the premise of the book is like mindset first, and this idea of outside in versus inside out. And what you're talking about is very much an outside in. Well, what's going on around me? What are the results? What might I get? What are people saying? And then that defines who I am, or it also defines how I feel, right? Which is very inconsistent and not a great approach. And so often when people are down and out or feeling very worried or anxious and they're inconsistent, it's like, well, maybe that's just a symptom of your approach to life. And let's flip the approach. Let's look at an inside out approach where focus and ask yourself the question, not what do I want to achieve and what's going on around me, but who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? And get clarity and certainty there. And just doing that, it starts to break free from the weight of results. We're going like, okay, I'm not letting that define me. I'm stopping the outside in approach. And then I'm going to start building this inside out approach. It's like planting the seed. It's getting grounded. And then from there, you go tackle the outer world, because we're still going to live in the outer world. You can't just work on mindset all day and not go do stuff. Like, we got to take action, but we're doing it from a place of groundedness and light. We want to be free and detached, and then certain about how we want to go and perform and execute our game plan and own our capabilities. So it's, that inside out versus outside in is the premise of the book, because inside out is mindset first. Who do we want to be? Then we go and take action, and it leads to the results, versus outside in is results first, which leads to, okay, what do I got to do to get that? And the last thing people think about is, who do I got to be? Well, that's not going to go so well now because the weight of results is the driving force.
And one of the things I really like about your approach, Cassie, thank you. But more importantly, is the idea that you have personal experience playing, academic as a PhD, and obviously as a professional. And you talk about CEP mindset, and word consistent is, for me, the most important part of the elite performing. Understanding in an academic way, PhD, the conscious continuum, and how our cellular structure talks to our subconscious, which then activates unconscious competencies. And the only way to get there, and one of the epiphanies I've had recently, Cassidy, as a mentor and a leader, and all the things that have fallen upon my journey as a 56-year-old, is in order to be successful, especially in mindset, you have to be as annoying as shit, because in order for people to perform or learn, you have to be so repetitive, annoying, like to be a parent. If you're not annoying, you're not a good parent, because people don't learn without consistent behavior, consistent repetition, and consistent reminders. And that's about as annoying as you can get. How do we get over the hurdle of our psyche that, hey, look, if you really want to be a consistent elite performer, you have to be annoying to yourself and others?
Yeah, I think one quick one is like, well, it's not a quick fix. That's for sure. Like, because sometimes I'll work someone like in a session or two, they break free, they're clear, they show up, they're starting to play with confidence, things are rolling, and I'm like, I don't want to say good luck, see you later, and like 3 weeks later, they're back to square one because the habits didn't stick. And so it doesn't have to be overly boring or overly annoying, but yeah, it's consistency in doing the work. And I also like to think of it as like, you want to keep evolving and keep progressing and keep adapting along the way. And so it's consistently self-reflecting. It's not like it just becomes autopilot and it's the same forever now. It could be the same for a long time. Like, we refer a lot to the Black Mamba, who my mentor, Todd Herman, created with Kobe. And the Black Mamba, but there would be evolutions in that. And it probably grew and deepened over time. But he used that to get out of when he was, in a bit of a struggle and losing his killer instinct. And the idea is but consistently embrace that mindset and the approaches and the reflections and the little things that add up to the big success. It's not like, oh, one big move or one big thing or one work. It's the compound effect. Applies in all areas of life, and definitely to our mindset. It's, what do we do first thing in the morning? How do we wake up and approach the day? What do we do at the end of the day? I know you're huge on gratitude and reflection and owning the wins, right? So it's like those little things add up. Don't do it for a week and oh, well, I did it. I'm great now. I feel great. And you stop doing it. Okay.
Well, Todd Herman wrote Alter Ego Effect. Is that correct?
Yeah.
A great book, by the way. I wish I would have read it when I was young. I would have put Tony Gwynn's baseball card in my hat. I would have. And Trevor Moad was my mindset coach for me, a dear friend, also for many of our players, Russell Wilson, and teaching the idea of where consistency lies within neutrality. And neutrality definitely requires detachment. Dr. Cassidy Preston, a master of mindset. You got to read Mindset First, and that CEP. You have to be consistent in elite performance, and it takes mentors like Dr. Preston as well as Dr. Blaine Bartlett up there. They're both masters of consistency and keeping us on track, on a trajectory of where we want to be or better. Thank you so much, Cassidy. We'll have you back, and we really enjoy your insights. Thank you.
Awesome. Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Cassidy. Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Takeaways of the day. We had 3 extraordinary friends today with extraordinary success. What did you gather from our friends?
Something that James mentioned just kind of struck me, and it was the last thing that breaks is relationship. And I've been kind of noodling on that here as we've been talking and whatnot. And that has, I think, 2 components to it. One is As he originally positioned it, the last thing that breaks is relationships. So you can always count on relationships to, to be there when you're looking to traverse difficult territory. If you've got strong friends, strong allies, strong relationships, that's going to work. So everything's a relationship. The other side of that, and it's kind of a polarity, is the last thing to break is a relationship, which has to do with developing new habits. I've got a relationship with existing ways to do things, and they won't get me where I want to go oftentimes. So try as I might, the last thing that's going to break is my relationship to my old habit, to my old way of being. And until I can actually change that relationship, nothing else becomes possible. So there's embedded in that little, kind of a drive-by comment, the last thing to break is a relationship. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, in terms of both growing and sustaining growth.
I agree. And, my takeaway is from that Stanford, he wasn't actually a Stanford grad. I think he was a Stanford student for a short amount of time. Steve Jobs said, you need to connect the dots backwards. But I think what he really meant was you need to try to see where you want to be or better, because it would be an impossibility. And we don't want to attach to an outcome or connect the dots necessarily backwards from the outcome, but just a trajectory or divine direction with divine time. Create that ability. And my takeaway is if you don't try to connect the dots backwards, then you won't get to where you want to be or better. And when you do look backwards and connect the dots, you'll realize why you don't want to necessarily attach to the exact outcome, and you can't, and you're not capable or knowing how to connect those dots as you look back. And one advantage of being older is you get to look back and see more clues and more patterns on the best choices that can be made in order to get to our potential, to ourselves and break free, starting with the mindset as well. So great takeaways from today, great guest from today, great host from today. Incredible Blaine Bartlett, BlaineBartlett.com. He's moving possibilities into reality. If you want the reality that you want, get some mentorship. Find one like Blaine or reach out to Blaine. I can tell you, not only have I, but so many others around me had great success by connecting the dots to where Blaine already is. Find someone who's where you want to be and ask them to connect the dots on how to get there. That's Blaine Bartlett, BlaineBartlett.com. As always, my friend, thanks for joining me.
Hey, thank you. Always my pleasure. Enjoy the games, plural. And
thank you.
Let's talk afterwards. And I'm gonna be
week.
down in your neck of the woods here. We're gonna actually I think you and Julie and
Cynthia and I
on the
16th
on the calendar.
Yes.
Looking forward.
I cannot wait. We love you, my friend. Thank you. All right. We are in New York right now. We have a holding court, and then I'm to the airport to the Final Four with Marshall Falk. We will be there in Phoenix, Arizona. Come and join us last minute. David at dmeltzer.com. After that, we'll be in Augusta, Georgia at the Masters, then Salt Lake City and Vegas. Between there, we have SoFi as well. We have a mastermind in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium as well. So we got to put up that as well. We have so many things, even my own team and myself, we don't know where we are. So we have texted ourselves and we created a community and alerting system for Gigi and Maluka and me, because we have so many things going on. None of us can remember. 949-298-2905. If you want to be notified of where we're going to be, we have 200 cities planned. I should get that InteleTravel so I can make money off of myself for all the travel that we do as a team. We're going to have, I think, 50 people down at the Masters alone. So, all right, everyone, come and join us. But most importantly, remember, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Thank you, team. We'll talk to you soon.